Get ready. Helena Hustle is now live. Here, we will showcase successful leaders in business, athletics, healthcare, and all things that make Helena a great place to live. Join Dr. Daniel Bridge, owner of Endurance Chiropractic, as he searches out amazing individuals who are making a tremendous difference in this place we call home. So sit back, relax, and get ready to be inspired with the Helena Hustle podcast.
Hey, Cody, thanks so much for coming out today. Let's get it kicked off with your two truths and a lie. See if you can stump me.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. Two truths and a lie. So we'll start out here. My great-grandfather helped found the CIA after World War II. I have 2 horses, and I played college baseball.
Okay. Well, the grandfather thing sounds a little too specific to be a lie, so I'm going to say you'd have like either 1 or 3 horses. I think the horse thing's the lie. Is that the lie?
That is the lie. I actually don't have any horses.
No horses.
Maybe someday.
Okay.
Someday. We'll see.
You like the idea of having horses?
I do. I grew up with them. We spent a lot of time in the backcountry with them. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. And you hunt?
Yeah, I do.
I mean, I'm guessing so.
Yeah, I work so that I can hunt.
Yeah. So Cody Cooper, and your office is called?
Full Curl Physical Therapy and Sports Performance. We're out in Montana City. We're connected to a gym called The Bar, kind of a boutique personal training gym. A lot of specialized equipment out there. And I'm a performance-based physical therapist, so I spend a lot of time in the gym setting.
Awesome. Cool. Well, I look forward to digging into that. But before we do, let's hear this story about your grandpa.
Yeah, no, I wish I knew more. He was pretty close-mouthed about
it.
But he served as a spy in World War II. And,
okay.
Spent some time over there after the war, and when he came back over here, he headed the Chicago office for the CIA. So
Dang, that's crazy.
Yeah, it was kind of a neat family story.
What kind of personality how would you describe your grandpa?
Yeah, unfortunately it was my great grandpa. So he died when I was probably 7 or 8, something like that. So I didn't know him incredibly well. I got to know him a little bit, but he was very, very quiet.
Mm-hmm.
He was definitely more of an observer, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, super kind-hearted guy and a lot of really neat stories.
Very cool. And so you grew up in Bozeman?
Yep, I did. South Bozeman, Gallatin Gateway area. Went to Bozeman High, all that good stuff.
Okay. Yep. And when did you start playing baseball?
Oh, goodness. I was probably 4 or 5.
Okay.
That was a long road, yeah.
And did you play other sports?
I did growing up. Played some basketball, a little bit of football. Baseball was always kind of the one that stuck with me, the one that I enjoyed the most, you know. Yeah.
And what position did you play?
I was a pitcher.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Okay. So where did you go to college?
Went to undergrad at MSU Billings, a smaller D2 school, obviously, in Billings. But most of our conference was West Coast. So it was the Great Northwest Athletic Conference. So like Western Oregon, Central Washington, St. Martin's, that's over in the Seattle area. So a lot of long bus trips is what it came down to.
Okay. I just went golfing last week with a friend of mine, and we got put in with 2 other guys, and one of the other guys was actually the pitcher for MSU Billings right now.
Oh, very nice. There we go. Small world.
Exactly. And what kind of an experience was that?
Oh, I loved it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I feel like it's kind of a split. You talk to people that did some sort of sport in college, and they can't even think about the sport anymore. And I had the opposite experience. I loved every second of it. I miss it every day. But one of those things I'm very grateful for.
Mm-hmm. Do you do you plan on coaching and niching down with that at all?
Maybe a little bit.
Professionally?
I work with a decent number of overhead athletes. And Helena's kind of a baseball town, so I wouldn't mind getting into that area a little bit. I do some side work just with like some pitching coaching and stuff like that. But yeah, no, it's something I enjoy a lot, so I'd be open to it.
Okay. You're how tall?
I was 6'4". I think I'm closer to 6'3" now.
Okay. And you're right-handed?
Yeah, I am.
Did you have a favorite pitch?
Yeah, I was a splitter guy, so I was able to throw that when I wanted to and where I wanted to.
Cool. That's great. And at what point did you know that you wanted to pursue physical therapy?
Yeah, no, I feel like I have the story that like every other physical therapist has. It's like I played a sport and like got hurt, saw a physical therapist and loved it. I actually, when I was in high school, I shadowed a PT, and I kind of hated it. Like I really didn't like it at all. I said, yeah, like no, that's not for me. So I started out the pre-med route actually in college, and then
What did you dislike about it?
yeah, it was without saying too much, it was kind of just a generic orthopedic outpatient clinic, very much about the numbers versus the patient quality care, if you will. And I just, it was obvious that the PTs didn't really enjoy what they were doing, and the patient care kind of lacked, I think, because of that. So yeah, no, but I was fortunate enough to get with a PT in Billings when I was there, who was phenomenal, very good at what she did.
You were shadowing, or she was working?
She was working on me, and then I actually worked at that clinic as well. Oh, cool. Yeah. And so yeah, that worked out really well. Kind of found my love for the profession when done right, and yeah, that kind of sent me on my way. So
was it through that experience that you're like, yeah, maybe pre-med isn't what I want to do, and I want to focus more on this?
It was. I wasn't really enjoying my studies that much, and then I switched majors into health and human performance from biology, and basically exercise science, and that was really enjoyable for me. You get into anatomy and exercise physiology and stuff like that, kinesiology, and it's very enjoyable for me. So
yeah. Okay. And so this physical therapist that worked with you, is her office similar to yours, where what was the word? How did you describe it? Performance based?
Yeah. So that's what I'm doing in Montana City. Yeah. Performance based. She practiced in that model, but the clinic wasn't necessarily that model. She did spend a lot of time with weights, dumbbells, free weights, stuff like that. But yeah, no, it was still more of kind of the generic outpatient orthopedic clinic, if you will. I'm trying to get away from that model a decent amount. I don't spend a lot of time on the table doing a lot of the manual therapies and stuff like that. I do it in order to get people out of pain, acute pain. But I'm a strong believer in reloading tissues, so that's what I focus on.
Nice. So how long were you at that clinic?
Oh, I was there for a little less than a year. I worked as a tech, kind of got some hours in and everything like that. So.
And then did you work somewhere else, or did you come straight to Montana City?
So so my wife and I actually lived in Omaha, Nebraska for about 5 years.
Oh, right on.
Yeah, we moved out there. I did kind of a non-traditional route with PT school. I always knew I was going to PT school, but my wife had to get her studies done first, her graduate studies. So I worked as a personal trainer for several years, just kind of getting that exercise prescription based down and everything like that. Figured it would kind of bode well in PT. And then I ended up going to school. So we lived in Omaha for quite a while, and then I worked here in town for a while prior to starting my own clinic.
That's awesome. And then did you and your wife meet in Billings?
We did, yeah. Okay. Yeah, smaller school. She was an athlete as well. She played basketball, and
cool.
We all kind of knew each other pretty well. Yeah, worked out.
That's great.
Yeah.
So why Helena?
Oh man, the outdoors, honestly. I loved growing up in Bozeman. I loved the outdoor opportunities. Don't tell anyone. I feel like Helena's a lot more accessible than Bozeman as far as that goes. You don't go to a trailhead and see 50 cars sitting there. You can.
Is that what it's like?
It is, unfortunately. Wow. But yeah, you can escape 10 minutes from your front door really anywhere in Helena, which is really nice.
Yeah.
The fishing's great here. The hunting's great here. So yeah, we kind of just fell in love with the area.
And you maybe just said this, but how long have you had your clinic?
We actually opened in February, so not very long. Yeah,
right on.
We're only about 6 months old, so kind of still in our infancy. Yeah.
And did you know the owners of the bar, or how did you get that set up?
Yeah. I was actually I kind of missed the personal training side of things when I was working at an outpatient clinic here in town. So I reached out in order to just kind of do that on the side and kind of bridge that gap between healthcare and wellness, if you will. Unfortunately, in the PT side of things, it's very much insurance kind of decides when you're done. And so I'd kind of get people cleared medically, but it's like, hey, go find a gym, So yeah, I was trying to bridge that gap, was able to get a decent number of personal training clients out there and really start on bridging that gap. And then it kind of just worked out really well that they were looking to get a physical therapist on staff out there. Not on staff, we're partners. Full Curl is separate from the bar, but still, it worked out great.
Was that was that scary for you to take that leap of faith?
Yeah, it's still scary.
Sure.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But, my wife and I were hoping to have kids here in the next 2 or 3 years.
Awesome.
And, we got student loans and everything like that. So it's like, if we're going to take the leap, like right now's the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What gave you that courage to do that?
Oh, my wife, 100%.
Yeah.
She's got a great job, loves where she works, plans on being there for a long time. And, we live out in Montana City. We love the area.
Mm-hmm.
There's not another PT clinic out there. There's a pediatric PT clinic, but not another outpatient or sports ortho clinic. And so it just seemed like the right time and the right place to do it.
Yeah. I've told this story on this podcast, but there was a time where I was really like every day, trying to get the courage to make this move. We weren't sure it was Helena at the time, but I asked a friend, how do you know you're ready? And he's like, yeah, you'll never be ready. And he told me it's like jumping out of an airplane and building your parachute on the way down. And I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
that's a good visual. But another friend said, hey, you're betting on yourself. And it's not like you're just a random statistic of a business opening. When you know what your strengths are and how hard you're willing to work and help your patients and build your reputation, it's not that big of a risk.
Yeah, that's just it. And, the short term, what you go through in opening the business and everything like that, it just reaps so many benefits long term.
Mm-hmm.
And, I'm even seeing it right now just as far as quality of care that I'm able to provide and the results that we're able to get with patients. It's incredible. And I've enjoyed every second of it.
Yeah.
It's been hard, but I really do enjoy it.
Oh yeah. It's being a small business owner is not for the faint of heart. It's insanely rewarding, but it's definitely challenging, but I wouldn't have it any other way.
Yeah, exactly. And, you have to have that support system too. I talked about my wife. I've got my parents, her parents, they both, they've got our backs. And then I've got quite a few friends that are business owners in other realms, not even here across the country. And, I call them at 10 o'clock at night asking questions fairly frequently, and they're very open to it and very, very willing to help. Yeah.
There's so much crossover, with different industries that you wouldn't even maybe think. I learned to do some different things on social media, and the person I learned from, they found a gym who was just had a really good presence, and they learned from them. And if you're open-minded, then whatever you want to find out is definitely out there.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what we're finding out. It's funny you mentioned social media. Like we've been dabbling in that a little bit, and like it's a learning curve. Like PT is the easy part of opening a business.
Right.
It's like everything else, all the social media, all the books, everything like that is that's the tough part. So.
Yeah, and so to just give a little backstory, Cody and I have a mutual patient, and he was saying, hey, I'm doing physical therapy. My PT, we're in a gym and we're doing workouts and exercises, and I just love that idea. I think it's so valuable and powerful. And so I just knew I had to get you here and have this conversation.
Yeah, no, I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. And, it's something that I like speaking kind of openly about because, underdosing it's a big issue in PT, and they talk about it all the time in PT school, but then it's like, what are we doing about it? And a lot of times we're not doing a whole lot about it.
Sure.
So that's one of the biggest reasons I wanted to take that leap.
Yeah. So tell us about the name of your clinic. What made you decide to name it?
It's a little bit of a play on words. Full curl, obviously a curl is an exercise. You want to do it through the full range of motion to get the full effect. But also full curl is it's basically what determines a legal ram for hunting, or a 3/4 curl would technically be legal, but full curl is something that kind of in the hunting community gets a lot of guys riled up.
Yeah.
So we had a guy over at Stone Glacier in Bozeman do our artwork for us, and he did a phenomenal job. And that's kind of the community that we want to focus on quite a bit. And get into our clinic as that outdoor athlete, and so we wanted to kind of share that with our logo.
Yeah, those patients they're willing to do their exercise. They're willing to put the time and the work in and get the good results. And it's very rewarding when someone says, "Hey, guess what? I just hiked to the top of this mountain, and 2 months ago that wasn't wasn't on the table at all.
Yeah, exactly. It's incredibly rewarding. And then, you know, I want to be, I tell people all the time, like, I don't want to be a PT. I want to be your PT. I'm that guy that on a Saturday you get back from your hunt and you give me a call at, 8:00 at night because something is flaring up and you don't know what to do, you know? And so I try to convey that to my patients. And, I feel like that's the community that I connect with the most, is that outdoor athlete. So.
Yeah, right on. I'm sure you deal with everything, but is there a specific condition that you just really love working on?
Yeah, I'm a knee guy.
Oh, nice.
Knee and shoulders, I should say. I did a lot of research with Creighton University and their athletics teams when I was in grad school on the knee and ACL and everything like that. And then obviously being an overhead athlete myself, or former overhead athlete, I like treating shoulders quite a bit. But yeah, I would say those are the two. But that doesn't limit me. That's just what I enjoy the most. You know?
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. So you've been in business for coming up on 6 months.
Yeah.
What lessons would you say you've learned so far? Or if somebody was maybe planning on opening a business, any business, is there any advice you'd give them specifically for this area?
I feel like my answer in 2 years is going to be a lot different.
Oh, it definitely will be.
No, I think it's pay attention to the small stuff. Do it right the first time. Because it's, if you just want to dabble in it or do it as a side gig for a certain amount of time, there's a certain point where you're going to have to kind of choose, whether or not this is something that you really want to commit your life to. And for me, I was pretty certain that this was something that I wanted to commit my life to. But once we started the process, it's like you have to go all in. You have to spend the money up front. You have to find the right people, surround yourself with the right people, do the coaching, whatever it may be, in order to make this successful. And honestly, in order to provide the best quality care that you can, because and there's nothing wrong with doing it on the side by any means, but you're just going to stress yourself out so much more if you continue to do that. So yeah, I think that's the biggest thing, is do it right the first time.
Yeah. I know it's like this with chiropractic, and I would assume it's like this with PT, but I mean, you said PT is the easy part. In PT school, do you get a lot of like business education?
So no, unfortunately,
right?
You don't. There are a couple PT schools I know that are kind of starting to add basically a business section to their education, or give the option for that track. But it's pretty rare, I think. I really didn't have any of that. So like I said, I've kind of relied on my business coaches first off, and then several friends that own businesses and have kind of been through the ringer with that.
Yeah. I've too worked with lots of consultants, and some good advice somebody told me was, find somebody who's doing what you want to do. Like, they might be successful with a different style, but you find somebody there where you want to be and they're doing what you want to do, and then just kind of reverse engineer it. And that's been pretty helpful for me.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a saying, like, if it's not broke, don't fix it, right? Like, people have done this before a lot, right? And people know what it takes to be successful. So listen to those people.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, back to it. Let's say for a random patient, a general piece of advice that you would give them if they're struggling with an injury.
Yeah, for sure. It depends, right? We use that all the time. For more acute injuries, the RICE method, the rest, ice elevation, everything like that is probably overutilized a little bit. A lot of times movement is medicine, if you will. And
motion is lotion.
Exactly. And then for the more chronic type stuff, normally it's a loading issue. We might not be loading properly, we might not be loading enough, but it's typically a loading issue. So what I do, I work on basically a 3-step process. So the first one is to reduce the pain. Next one is to relearn. So that's kind of those coordination and those movement patterns. That's spending a lot of time in the gym, working on form, if you will. And then the final one is reloading those tissues. So that's kind of the process that I put everyone through. That process looks different for everyone. But injuries are still injuries. Tissues still need to heal, and tissues still need to be loaded. So that's what I recommend, is kind of going through that 3-step process.
Right on. Well, cool. Cody, this has been an awesome conversation. If somebody wanted to check you out or visit with you or find out if they're a good fit for your clinic, where would they go?
Yeah, for sure. You can find us at www.fullcurlpt.com. We are also on socials at fullcurlpt on Instagram, Full Curl Physical Therapy and Sports Performance on Facebook. And then on our website, my contact info is on there as well, Cody at fullcurlpt.com. If anyone does have any questions, or if they're just kind of curious to get a little more insight as to what we do, feel free to reach out. Always open to that. You can book a free discovery call on there as well, kind of just a 15-minute sit down and let's just talk things through. Hey, maybe it's not something you need to come in for right now. Maybe I can give you some stuff over the phone and you'll be able to do this at home. But hey, I'm your guy. If you need us when something does pop up, we're there.
Well, cool. It sounds like you've got a really unique office, something that interests me as I like to be outdoors and to get down get the weights going and moving around. I think that's invaluable. So keep up the good work.
Yeah, I really appreciate you having me. Thank you.
Yeah. Awesome, Cody.
Thanks so much for tuning in to this episode of the Helena Hustle podcast. If you're enjoying the show, please feel free to rate, subscribe, and leave a review wherever you listen to your podcasts. That helps others find the show, and we greatly appreciate it. Once again, thanks for joining us, and we'll catch you in the next episode of the Helena Hustle podcast.